Well, greetings to all of my Instagrammer friends and any new YouTube followers out there. Welcome to my retro review channel. This is Retro Direction and my name's Michael. And I hope you've all tuned in and are looking forward to this, my latest review. Now, for those of you who've just tuned in and you're new to this, I specialise mainly in PlayStation and Sega Saturn, but there will be a few other systems to follow at a later date. But anyway, on with the show, as they say. Now, first of all, we're going to be reviewing Star Gladiator. Now, this is a Capcom fighting game, and it was released in the arcades in 1986, and it was Capcom's first entry into the 3D fighting game series. And what a superb entry it was, too. Now, it's a little bit underrated, this game. It was back in the day. But I think having played it, you'll soon realise that it is actually quite superb. Now, Capcom don't usually get things wrong, even when they're experimenting. So anyway, first of all, you've got some really good characters to choose from here. Now, there is the usual plot, because as we know, these games all have storylines. And in this case, it's evil mastermind genius wants to take over the world, and a handful of these characters are out to stop him. But anyway, you've got three of them that are human. Hayato, which is the one I always choose. He's like a space samurai, and he wields a kind of a laser sword which extends. June wields a chakram, or a bladed circular blade of some sort. Saturn, he wields twin yo-yos that he can surprise you with, and he can link into combinations. Gammoff is like a powerhouse. He's like Zangief from Street Fighter. He's got a couple of throws that can really get you, and a very huge axe-like weapon. Geralt is the other human guy. He's a matador, but he's an expert in fencing, so he's got a lot of good thrusting attacks with his blade. Vector is a robot with a laser pistol for long range and a bladed attack for up close and personal melee. Rimgal, a dinosaur with a big massive club, and that's all we can say about him. Velkin is the Birdman. He kind of does like Wing Chun martial arts, but he holds a blade in one hand, so he's not bad to use at all. Gore is the penultimate boss here. Now, he's like a sub-boss. He's the one that you fight before the final guy, which is Bilstein. Bilstein is the last boss of the game. He's dangerous. He's got a huge, massive broadsword. Or a great sword. Anyway, something big that he hurts you with. Now, there are a couple of secret characters in the game that you can either unlock by playing the game properly, which I don't, or you can input a cheat mode, which I do. It's just for the purposes of the video, and if you believe that, you believe anything. Kappa is one of the secret characters. He's based on Japanese mythology. I believe he's a kind of demon. And if you look at him, he looks like a Ninja Turtle. So you think, okay, now this is either Raffaello, Michelangelo, or Donatello. He looks just like one of those. Blood is another huge broadsword wielding guy. Now, he's essentially Bilstein, just with different texture maps. So just to make him look different, and he's got a couple of extra moves. But yeah, playing as Blood is like playing as Bilstein. But Hayato is my go-to. And we're going to go into training mode, because this is where I'm going to explain to you about the very interesting fighting system. Now we'll select June as my opponent. Okay, now when you first pick up this game, like if you don't read through the instructions or just, stick it in your machine and just play it, you'll think, okay, it's easy to think that it's just a handful of average characters in an average fighting game with 2 or 3 slashes each. And it's actually completely wrong. It's the opposite. It's a really deep fighting system. I mean, Capcom really have designed it properly here. Now, as you can see in the top right-hand corner, there's a cluster of letters in a grid formation. Now, those are your combinations. Now, for example, you've got A, B, and K. So your A attacks are assigned to the square button. So those are your vertical attacks. Then you've got your horizontal attacks, which are triangle. And then you've got a kick, which is that one. Now, all of these can be strung together into combos. So, for example, at the very top you see A, which you can link together 4 times, like so. And that's your A combination. Your B, you can only do it twice. And then the kick can be done 3 times, as you can see along the bottom left of the grid. 1, 2, 3. And there you go. Now, those are your basic combos. Now, you can link them together to form chains. So, looking at the grid, you can see that A, at least with Hayato, each character has a different grid, laid out differently. Now, Hayato can link his A's and his B's and his K's together, and to form a really good variety of combos. So, for example, if we do A, B, A, so A, B, A, and there's your downward plunge attack. So that's one of them. Then you've got B, A, B, B, A, so B, A, B, B, A. And a downward slash, why not? You can add that on. And you can also start with the kick moves. So we can do, let's say, K, A, B, B, A. There you go. And so on and so forth. Then you've got K, K, B, K, B. Let's try that one. K, K, hang on. K, K, B, K, B. So, there you have it. That's your handful of moves. Now, you've also got something called plasma reversals and plasma counters. So for that, I'm going to make June attack me, so you can see what I mean. Right, that's a plasma reversal. So you can do that, I believe, once per round. Then you've got a plasma counter, which is just, it's like a quick move that stuns your opponent so you can get a few good hits in. You've got some throws as well, like that. And you can do dashing moves as well. So you can do a flying kick, like that, downward slash, and you can do a running dash attack with this triangle button, which she won't let me do, but if you ever get the game, you should try these out. There you go, and that one as well. And then other moves that you can discover yourself as well. Like this one. So that's basically it. Now, every character you choose has the same grid, but it's laid out differently. Now, Hayato is very combo friendly, so his grid is like this, but if you choose one of the other characters, their grid will be different. Like Gamoth, for example, isn't really that combo heavy. He does have combos, but not quite as much as Hayato does. So now what we're going to do is we're going to touch on the graphics now and the actual gameplay itself. So we'll go into arcade mode. Now, for the purposes of the video, I've adjusted some options, so we've got only one round per match, so it doesn't drag on for too long. Now, of note, first of all, the graphics are amazing, and when this first came out, it was state of the art. Now, because the arcade version is based on PlayStation hardware, we have a perfect conversion here. There are no differences at all. It looks like the arcade. And the characters are very big, nice and chunky, very generously animated. Not motion captured, but that doesn't matter because they still move superbly. We'll quote Toshinden here, which was another really good 3D fighting game, one of Sony PlayStation's early ones. Now, that one had no motion capture at all, so the animation was like all over the place. But here, it's had a great deal of care. So despite not being a lot of motion capture, if any at all, they still move very well. And there you go. And the other thing of note, we have to mention the backgrounds. First of all, they're completely 3D. And there's a lot going on in the background as well. As you can see in this stage, there were some hovering vehicles flying past. In a later stage, we have Saturn stage, for example. You've got spaceships that are chasing each other in the backgrounds, fighting a war, blasting each other with laser fire. It's really good. And here I'm fighting myself. There you go. So This is a good stage as well. It's like a launch pad. So yeah, each stage has something going on in it, just to make it more interesting. The light sourcing is extremely good in this game. As you can see, you know, when the blows connect, all the different light sources reflect off the characters. The lighting on the actual stages is good. Here we've got sunset or sunrise, and it's painting the whole stage in a very interesting hellish orange. I mean, there's a hell of a lot of atmosphere here. Right, and here are said spaceships in Saturn stage here. I think we're on a platform suspended in space. Now, Saturn is a formidable opponent. He's actually very good. A very good opponent indeed. If he gets you with those extendable yo-yos, you're stuffed. Hey, we got him with a ring out. There you go. Should teach him to mess with me. So yeah, now the frame rate is actually very good. There's not a single bit of slowdown here, despite all the lighting effects, all the light sourcing, and the animated 3D backgrounds. Everything moves at a solid 30 frames a second. I haven't ever experienced any stuttering or any frame rate issues with this game. It's just really, really superb. Now, Hayato's a very good opponent as well. If he gets you with those thrusts, you're stuffed. So you've got to fight him at long range here with your flying kick. Yeah, take that. So there you go. Backgrounds, graphics, everything is just really, really good. And if you ever experience this game, if you end up getting it, do yourselves a favour. First of all, if you have a modified PlayStation that can play imports, I would really go for the Japanese or the American version, which is what I'm playing here. This is the US version that I found. And I bought it, well, when it first came out. The first time I bought it, it was the PAL version. I was still living in Italy at the time, and we didn't have an importer there. But I went to one of the neighbouring towns with my mother and my auntie on one of our outings. If there's a game shop to be found, Michael will find it. And I did. And this guy had everything from Sega Mega Drive to PlayStation and Saturn. He had the lot. And I bought the PAL version of Star Gladiator. And when I got it home, I really loved it. I played it. It was superb. But unfortunately, the conversion wasn't really optimized very well, so it was very slow. A bit like, if you can remember when Tekken first came out, everyone was expecting a really arcade-perfect conversion, which is essentially what you got, but it wasn't the same speed as the arcade. It was very badly bordered, and it was about 17.5% slower, which was the case with many of these arcade conversions. They weren't really optimized as well as they could have been. But for those of you with modified PS1s, do go for the import, American or Japanese, and you can enjoy the game as it's meant to be played. Because I remember looking forward to Tekken a lot, and I was really disappointed when it first came out. And there you go. There's some excellent light sourcing there, as you can see where Hayato was standing. The light was hitting him at a certain angle and his shadow was lengthening. It's all really good stuff. Now, I know back in the day I used to buy hundreds upon hundreds of these magazines. Edge, Maximum, CVG, Mean Machine Sega, all of them. And I remember the famous words that the reviewers used to say. Gameplay first, graphics second. Graphics are not important, gameplay is. In a way, they're not wrong. But when it comes to certain games, such as this one, I actually don't agree at all. You've got to have some eye candy. And thankfully, you've got it here. And you know when Sony handles a game, anything to do with an arcade conversion, you know it's going to be good. There you go. This is Bill Stein. Very dangerous guy. So you've really got to get some hits in. And he's just done a plasma reversal. There you go. He actually does that. That's the once per round thing, but he'll do his plasma counter. And he's got me. There you go. Always happens when you most want to show somebody something or do a review, you get your ass kicked. But that's not a problem. It's very easy to just jump back into it. You just continue. And now, there are two endings. Now, the ending I'll likely get if I complete the game before my time limit runs out on my cell phone here. I'll get the bad ending. There is a way to get the good ending. Now, if you complete the game within a certain time limit, I think it's under 4 minutes, which can be done. Just set the rounds to 1, like I've done here, and set the damage to high, where you do an immense amount of damage with your blows. Bastard got me again. And if you don't continue, you fight somebody called Super Billstein, which is the same guy that I was just fighting here, but he's more of a, I don't know, a supernatural glowing version of him. And if you beat him and then beat the last boss as well, that's when you get the good ending. Now, there aren't any flashy CGI movies here like in the Tekken games. It's mainly text or pictures. But you don't really need them. You've got a fantastic game here, which is worth playing. And we've got Billstein. There you are, I've beaten him. So you'll see just the ending. It's just text, really. Well, there you have it. That is Star Gladiator. A game well worth tracking down. A game that was quite underrated. Back in the day when I was still sort of buying for the PlayStation and collecting them, you know, from the late 90s to the early 2000 and somethings. I was so surprised at the amount of people that had never played this and that hadn't even heard of it. And I thought, you don't know Star Gladiator? You have to play Star Gladiator. You just don't know what you're missing. It's one of the best games out there. But anyway, I've played it in the best way possible here, so you can get an idea. So I'm wondering about my good old friends Tom Lads and PlayStation Guy. Do you have this game? If you don't, it's another one to add to your collection. And if you can get the import versions, I would thoroughly recommend that. It's definitely worth it. So there you have it, Star Gladiator. I hope you've enjoyed the review. Thanks for tuning in. And the next review is coming shortly. As per usual, I'm not going to announce which one it is. I'm just going to open all of my drawers upstairs and pick a game at random, one that I think you'll love. And, you know, whether it's one that's obscure or not, I'm sure you'll have a lot of fun reminiscing and remembering how fantastic the PlayStation actually was and still is. Now, I play my retro games more so than my modern consoles. Yeah, I've been indulging in Dark Souls 3 lately. So, yes, I've let them go a bit. But it's time to get back into them. But anyway, I think I'll review another one perhaps a little later this afternoon. And we'll upload that. Or I'll do one perhaps tomorrow evening. I won't tell you which one it is. Just stay tuned to find out. And enjoy. Anyway, take care and have a great time retroing. And remember the slogan, you know where you stand with retro.